Chapter 45, Extra, The Interview. 1. Disclaimer, I own nothing. This story has no interest in offending any party, having the sole objective of only entertaining the readers. Enjoy. As you can see, I'm not dead. T'Challa, the Black Panther. Author's note, well, look what we have here. If isn't me the author. Should I start saying that I'm sorry? But I'm not really sorry. I mean, I'm sorry for the delay, but I needed the break to focus on my life, exams, thesis, and many other things. After this I was dragged down to a vacation very far from my PC, returned after the new year, but I still needed time to myself. So this is the reason. Also, as some readers deduced, I'm from Bahia. In turn Brazilian joke. Now, many of you must be wondering about this extra chapter. Well, while I'm on vacation, while I don't want to think about complicated plots, I still like this story and started writing on my phone this thing here without much thought and relaxed. And damn, writing on the phone suck. I needed to change the language of my phone keyboard to English. I also discovered that I have no self-control and this little side story surpassed 30k words. Yay, I know. So, this side story is basically an interview to solidify Idolan's image to the public of Marvel. I think is a good extra. Many of you must think is unnecessary, but this interview will have some seed of future plots and interactions with Marvel characters. I think that can still be fun. Is just a light and relaxed chapter. Is also useful to allow me to get back in shape for writing. So this week, we'll go like that. There are 3 parts to this interview. There's a limit to how many words a chapter can have here in web novel. I will release the parts today, Wednesday, and Friday. And then on Sunday the real 45th chapter. And we are back to normal. Enjoy. Reader, author, please come back. We want a new chapter full of plots and development. Pawn Star author, the best I can do is a big extra chapter explaining some things. Take it or leave. Third person POV. It's starting. Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat, screams to her fellow residents of the mansion. Tone down, Kitty. The kids are already sleeping. Ororo, aka Storm, admonishes her. Kitty mouths a sorry sheepishly. While the two are talking, the rest of the people arrives in the living room. There's the professor of the institute, the main team of the X-Men, and the others a little too young, in the age group below 15 years, and those who, despite being the same age as Jean and the others, is part of another group. After all, a team with many people is too problematic to handle, for now, so there's a secondary team that only train and does simulations. The one more young don't ever do battle simulation. It's okay, Ororo. It's natural for her to be excited. Professor Xavier says, smiling as he arrives in his characteristic wheelchair. Yeah, this is a big moment for all of us. Hank McCoy says while fixing his glasses. Big moment? This is fricking huge. Kitty exclaims but corrects herself in the middle of it after a look from the teachers. For the first time in history, a Meta will give an interview on national television. She says international. Jean corrects even with a little delay. Other channels have permission to broadcast it too. Internet too. Jubilee adds, okay, let's watch in silence now. This could be a game changer. Professor Xavier says, making everyone focus on the TV. Is Reed not coming? Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, asks Susan Storm, while she arrives on the living room with a slightly annoyed face. In addition to Ben, the room has Alicia Masters, Ben's girlfriend, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. No, he said that he is in an important moment of his portal project. He will watch in his lab while working, she says while slapping Johnny Storm's leg away to make room to there to sit. Too bad. I almost don't see the guy. If I do not drag him off the lab, Ben comments, chugging down a beer. No wonder he already has white hair at 30 years old. Johnny comments, heating a pan with his hand and making popcorn. SHHH is starting. Susan says while turning up the TV volume. Good night, Aunt May. We are gonna watch the interview in my room. Peter Parker says to his old aunt on the top of the stairs. Thanks for letting me stay, Aunt. Ned nods to her while carrying food in her arms. All right, boys. I won't be able to stay up to finish watching the show anyway, so tomorrow you let me know how it went. The kind old woman says to them. Yes, it's the old version of Aunt May, you degenerate. When the interview was announced, Ned proposed that he go have a sleepover at Peter's house. He also invited Gwen, but it was not possible for obvious reasons. But they will chat via group chat, video call, on their phones. Dude, what do you think they will talk about? Ned asked a little too excitedly to just a talk show. I don't know. About heroes, mutants/metas, Idolan's personal life. Peter answers. Cool. Why you don't do an interview too? Don't ever need to be on a talk show. Go to the Daily Bugle, he suggests. Peter scoffs. Yeah, right. Jameson will call the cops at the moment that I appear. Well, you could always try to make peace with him. Or bait him in thinking that he can expose your evil deeds and in truth show the world that you're a good guy. This makes Peter think. Nah, he would probably take only the convenient parts of the interview to paint me in a bad light. Ned shrugs his shoulders. Whatever. One day you will appear on a talk show on national television. He consoles his friend, even if it is unnecessary. I want a complete focus on him. His mannerisms, expressions, everything. Nick Fury shouts in his platform on the Helicarrier's command center. The agents are positioned in the studio already. Maria Hill reports at the side. Next door. Natasha Romanoff and Barbara Morse are sitting very relaxed at the table. Barbara Morse is another agent, codenamed Mockingbird. Snacks. Black Widow offers to Fury. He looks at her smirking face with his one eye, a vein almost popping off in annoyance. Obviously, it's not a big deal, but her overly relaxed attitude gets her on his nerves. His hand moves fast, taking away the bag from her outstretched hand. What snacks? Focus Agent Romanoff, you're on duty. Could happen an attack on his location at any mo. He starts. Relax. Who is stupid enough to attack Idolan? If not, even the villains must be watching him now, she says nonchalantly while eating. Fury can only grumble at her logic. Making light of a situation. A good way to get killed, he says while eating the food. All the same. And Black Widow is not wrong. All around the world, people of interest, as Hector likes to call them, are preparing to watch the interview to know a little more about the powerful hero. Captain America sits comfortably in his apartment. Emma Frost pours a drink to herself while waiting. Magneto and his followers are also waiting. Selene Gallio, Doom, Blue Marvel, Wakanda, Hydra, Serpent Society and many others. Freeubnovel.com. On a studio of the heavily awaited talk show. The Marvel Universe version of Steve Harvey is addressing the audience. He is not exactly like his counterpart of him but is similar enough. Something that Hector observed when checking the celebrities of this universe. Wouldn't it be awkward if Robert Downey Jr. looks exactly like Tony Stark? Many celebrities are the same, mostly unrelated to the MCU, like the sport-related ones, like Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Messi, and others. Also, actors that never made a Marvel movie remained unchanged, like DiCaprio and Tom Cruise. Funny enough, Natalie Portman looks a little like Jane Foster. To Hector is a little fun seeing these people now. Technically he is in the past, but in another universe. There are some things that he can do. Help Ali with his Parkinson, and discreetly cure other athletes' career-ending injuries. He will do it? Maybe. For now he only did one thing. He left a note on Johnny Depp's pillow. Do NT get close to Amber Heard? Yes, being in the past allows you to do more than buy a load of Bitcoin. Now, back to the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, I know for what everyone is anxious for. The host starts making everyone cheer crazily. All right. I will not take more of your time. I would like to present to you guys the man that needs no presentation, he says while gesturing to the empty air on his side of him. Please, a round of applause to the man. The greatest, Idolan, he exclaims, and a little black vortex coalesces in the air making everyone applaud. The greatest Idolan. Hector is equal times surprised and amused by the title. The Incredible Hulk. The Invincible Iron Man. The Amazing Spider-Man. The Mighty Thor. These editorial titles used in his other life are normal things. He didn't expect to receive the greatest as a pre-title. Not that he is complaining, it is cool at least, and not very cringe. But it makes him think if, in some place in the multiverse, some kids are watching a cartoon of his life called The Greatest Idolan. More probably would be an Amazon series like The Boys or Invincible. He thinks while appearing on the TV program set. First, his head that was a little lowered, as if he was going through a small door. As he straightens up, the rest of his body covered by the mantle starts appearing too. Then Idolan's eyes change, using the all-seeing eyes of God. His eyes move fast across everything. He looks at every nook and cranny of the place. For some reason this made the place fall into silence. Maybe it is the fact that instinctively all the people here know that Idolan is checking everyone, or maybe is simply the sheer presence that a man that can with one move destroy everyone present, but the mood becomes a little tense and awkward. A second later Idolan visibly relaxes and his eyes settle into a stormy gray color. He turns to the host and extends his hand to him. His gesture takes away a little of the heavy mood that started to build up in the room. At the same time, a woman quickly approaches carrying a microphone to Idolan. While this happens, the people can't hear the greeting between Idolan and Steve. Wow, he is really tall. Paige, aka Husk, comments to the other X-Men while seeing the assistant putting the microphone on Idolan's waist on TV. The woman doesn't even reach his shoulder from him. She looks nervous. Warren comments, overwhelmed by fear or awe. Ororo says to the side they watch Idolan take the thing from her hands and stick it on his belt and nodding at her gratefully. Is his mantle different? Kitty asks. It looks the same to me. Jubilee says it looks smoky. Rogue adds, yeah. When he teleported it appears to blend with the mist, but now looks normal. But I'm sure that I saw that, Kitty exclaims, must be one of his zillion's powers. Cecily Kincaid says, Idolan, sit please. Steve gestures to the chair close to him and waits for the hero to sit. The scenery is very simple, 2 armchairs with a little table in front of the two. I have to say that it is an honor to have you with us here this night. After Idolan sits, he finally says the expected words. It's okay. I'm the one that needs to thank you for giving me the chance to talk on your TV show. Idolan says good-naturedly. He continues, and it is good that I say something from the beginning. To all your questions, I promise that I won't lie. He says seriously, I will answer only in 3 forms. The truth, I don't want to talk about it. And I'm Idolan, he says in a joking tone. His joke makes everyone pauses for an instant before bursting out in laughs. The catchphrase I'm Idolan is already famous in the world. And Idolan's serious appearance made a funny contrast, causing humor. The previous heavy mood was instantly lighter now. Hee. Okay. So, how do you want to do this? Want to say something before I start asking the questions that the world is crazy to know? Steve says while showing the bunch of cards in his hands. You can start asking. We can develop from there. Idolan says after thinking a little. Okay, let's see. Steve looks at the cards and decides where to start. Why did you start doing this? You know, being a hero. What motivated you? Well, you started very big, huh? Idolan says with a smile, making the people chuckle. This question is too deep. Goes to my backstory and many other subtopics. He says with a hand on his chin. I will give you the simple answer for now, but ask it again later. I started this whole Idolan thing because someone needed to do this. Mostly about the meta question. Idolan says. He continues, I need to say, I'm on this before my debut on the invasion. Secretly, you know, searching, investigating, and even helping people secretly. Helping people secretly. Yes, like using telekinesis to save people discreetly. Or blitzkrieg some criminals. Things that people would associate as a stroke of luck or a miracle, and not to me. I see. But why? Why hide? Well, I believed that the world was not ready for my appearance. My existence. Idolan confesses, I have planned to act on the shadows for some years more, but the invasion happened. The invasion happened, yes. Idolan confirms, I couldn't help discreetly on a problem of that magnitude, so I appeared. But I think it worked for the best in the end. I could help more people now. Well, I think I can say for a lot of people now. I'm grateful that you step up on that day, Idolan. Thank you very much. Steve says seriously, making the people applaud and cheer for the hero. It was very brave of you. And thank you for sticking around helping too. I know that many people don't appreciate it, but I do. So I need to say that. He finishes, making the audience cheer even more loudly after some time of Idolan keeping his hand up. Thanking the cheers, the audience subsides. Thanks for appreciating my efforts, means a lot, really. But I have to say, you call me brave. Idolan chuckles, but I don't think myself brave. With the exception of my fight against Thor, I never took any risks. Calling me brave for taking criminals when I'm bulletproof is a little of a stretch. Brave is the cops and firefighters who really risk their lives every day. There's nothing of impressive on me taking criminal when there's no danger to myself. Kitty Pride POV. He is good, he knows exactly what to say. I hear Warren's comment. You talk like he is faking it. Rogue stepped up on Idolan's defense. Yeah, he is just being truthful, Bob. Iceman adds, whoa, calm down, people. I never said that he is using fake modesty. Just saying that he knows how to talk. Just this. Warren says, raising his hands in surrender. Well, he is not wrong. Wanting or not, Idolan is the spokesperson of our people at this moment. So it's good that he can carry himself in a good, humble, and educated manner. The professor says, he hadn't thought that deeply. This interview is much more than a simple presentation of the hero Idolan. Anyway, even if it's easy for you, you still dedicate your time and efforts to help, and that's enough. The host talks. At least it appears that this guy is not an anti-mutant, so this interview must go without any problems. Idolan must have chosen him because of that. Stop it. You can't see, but you're making me blush under the mask. Idolan says to laughs. He looks like a cool dude. Speak says, when he is not beating us, I mean. Haha. Yeah, he gives that vibe of unapproachable till you know him. Jean comments, ha ha ha. I can see what you mean. I comment, bringing my attention back to the TV. I hear the host touch on the most important topic to us. You said something before about the meta question. Do you want to talk about it now? Well, it's a good start. Idolan says before straightening a little more on his chair. Metahumans is what I call all the people with powers, independent of the nature. But right now is only a substitute for the terms mutants and Homo superior. Idolan explains. Why is only a substitute for now? And why metahumans? How did you come up with this idea? The host asks. Well, mutant is too derogatory and Homo superior too arrogant. He says there is nothing of superior in us. We are humans with meta abilities. Nothing less and nothing more. He continues, the Homo superior thing comes from the theory that everyone will have powers in the future so that we would be one step ahead. But is a little of a stretch, and I will explain it later. And does this term only cover mutants? Excuse me, is offensive to call you mutant? Steve asks with a frown. First, don't be afraid of asking anything. You can speak freely, Steve. I'm not easily offended. And about your questions. Not everyone wants to be identified as a meta. Beyond mutants there are mutates, like the Fantastic Four, enhanceds like Captain America, and even Inhumans. And people that gain power through other means like technology, magic. Alien parasites. Wait. Inhumans. Yeah, they live on the moon. Have powers too. Continuing. Idolan brushes off and continues like he has not released shocking news. I would like that the term metahumans to envelop all these people, to stop distinction and discrimination between them. You don't find it weird the ridiculous amount of hate that someone receives for being a mutant? But if you're a mutate, out of nowhere everything is good. Now that you're talking about that, only now they're thinking about it? People are really easily brainwashed. Scott comments, yet, there are a bunch of reasons for that. But back to the whole nomination thing. Some people simply don't want to be lumped together. Prefer to still be called mutate, enhanced, or whatever. And I can't force them either. So because of that the term metahuman only substituted the term mutants. For now, Baxter building metahuman is so much cooler than mutate. I will start calling myself that from now on. Johnny comments, who comes with the mutate thing anyway? Ben asks Reed, but is the term used by the military and government, remember? Susan says while watching the TV. Kitty Pride POV, you asked before if is offensive to call me mutant. I can answer for myself. I don't care. I know that metahuman is a new term, many people don't know and don't mean to say it in an offensive way, so I could particularly excuse it. Idolan looks at the host to continue. I will explain. Steve, you're a black man. Okay, I'm not trying to offend you. Haha, it's a fact. Steve jokes while looking at his skin. So, I'm a mutant. It's a fact. Is the way you deliver the word. Simply as that? I see. But there's an offensive variant word to mutants. Mutie. Is it like the N-word to you guys? I think I read something about this on the internet. Steve asks curiously, maybe, we as a race. By the way, I don't like to use the word race or my people to refer to us, because I think it divides us even more. But there are no better words. So, as a race, we don't have such a huge numerical tragedy that black people have in their history. We suffered a lot. For a long time. But it is strange to put mutie at the same level as the N-word. Idolan continues, the problem with the word mutie is that it's used by the extremist people that lynch and kill the metas. So, if you use it, you can be associated with these skinhead-like people. He explains. He gives an example of making the Nazi symbol appear on the air is like the swastika. To the Buddhism is a symbol that represents peace and prosperity. But Nazism messed up with the thing, you see? So is always associated with them. I understand. It's become bad because it is used by bad people while they do bad things. Steve says exactly. Idolan points at him in approval. Makes sense. We already call ourselves mutants, so it's not really an offensive term. Mutie on the other hand always found it distasteful. Bobby Drake says at my side the way that is talked is a huge factor too. Jean adds her 2 bits, agreeing with Idolan. Focusing back on the TV, I see Idolan continuing his thoughts. There are 2 big myths about metas, mutants, that I need to disprove. First of all, we are not the inherent evil that we are painted to be. Tell me, Steve, when did a mutant ever hurt you? Or someone that you know? Idolan asks, looking at the host. Never. In truth, you're the first one that I ever talked, or I'm this close. That I know, at least. So where all this hate is coming from is such an easy conclusion that is almost silly that no one talked about this before. Idolan says while gesticulating with his hands, I will tell the absolute truth now. You guys are simply brainwashed to hate mutants. Idolan stops to see the audience's reaction. His statement is met with silence. Don't believe in me, huh? It's natural. No one ever thinks that is being manipulated. That is how manipulation works. I look around. The people here are wearing serious faces. The individual is smart, but the mass is dumb. He says it is an old tactic to create a common foreign enemy to unify people. Very used in wars, and in many ideological conflicts. Was used against the communists, Muslims. Everyone always exclaims that the other side is much worse than it really is. Dehumanize the enemy to make it easy to kill them. Idolan says seriously, recently I uncovered the workshop plot, or the meta factory as how the people are calling it. Now let me ask. Idolan looks around seriously. If I haven't appeared, if Idolan never existed, who would care if some mutants are being tortured? The politics responsible would say some excuse like they are trying to cure them, that the victims are in truth terrorists, criminals, and no one, I repeat, no one would ask, are they really? Idolan pauses to let the thought sink in. And I don't doubt that. Even seeing the torture installations, people wouldn't have cared. I think some people would be glad that the filthy mutants are being taken care of. Powers. Idolan attracts the attention again, are viewed as an amazing thing. Everyone wants to have powers. So you all really think that rich and influential people haven't tried to acquire them? To themselves? To make soldiers? Captain America is the living proof that they're trying to do it for at least 60 years. Idolan points to some direction that could be where Washington, maybe. Where people think that Captain America is staying. So are you saying that this whole anti-mutant propaganda is to desensitize people to whatever cruelty would be committed against you guys? Steve asks. Yes. And these guys are also afraid that we would upset the status quo too. They're used to being on top, above everyone is everything. So you can imagine how much they fear that one day someone strong as me decides that wants to change the world or take their place. So they instill their fear in you guys too. Let's be honest. What does someone powerful like me gain from hurting normal people? The people stay in silence. They always preach that we metas can read your minds, invade your homes, kill your family. Pfft. Your mind is not that interesting. A bank is a better target to rob, and if someone wants to hurt you, they can do it with a knife. Idolan argues. Makes sense. The host agrees. Mutants are the first and most recognizable group to be the target. Sincerely, I wouldn't give 5 years for mutates start to be hated too. Ah, the Skrulls also have their hidden agenda. Idolan comments casually. Skrulls? Skrulls. I hear the people here asking confused. 2 Skrulls. Race of shapeshifters, aliens that invade planets taking the place of influential people. Many mutants can easily identify them with their powers, so they make us the enemy of humanity to make their invasion easy. Idolan talks about this a little too casually. What? Yeah, shocking. I will talk about them later too, when I explain galactic politics. Remember of asking. Idolan points to the host. Is he serious? Jubilee asks. I don't think that he would joke about that. And an alien invasion just happened. Jean comments. So we are like an impediment to an alien invasion, and because of this we are ostracized. Scott asks. This is probably just one of many factors. I feel that Idolan is not talking about everything Dr. McCoy says. In another place, Many disguised aliens think the same. He knows. Back to Kitty POV. Are you seriously not gonna talk about this now? Isn't this serious? Steve asks, a little flustered. Relax, I'm here. But I can say something to them. Idolan suddenly turns serious and looks at the camera. There's still time to get out. Damn, he is not even talking to me. I get shivers down my spine. The dude is scary as fuck. Well, okay. If you say so. You're talking before about. The host changes the subject. Even he is a little intimidated. The other myth about metas. That we all have great superpowers, and that we are a danger to society. Blah, blah, blah. Idolan says the truth is far from that. Obviously, the strong ones like me and Magneto have more visibility, but most of the metas have powers that don't make them so different from the other humans, advantage-wise. It's not like every meta can do anything without consequences. The cases of murder and lynching of the targets are the proof of this. We wouldn't be beaten by 4 thugs with clubs if every one of us is so powerful. But is always conveniently ignored by media, right? True. Let me explain the meta power levels. First, us metas don't make an annual convention to decide that. Idolan jokes, but there's a consensus in using Greek letters, so I personally classify into 7 levels. This is my own classification. He waves his hand and a hologram appears in the air showing a huge pyramid. In the bottom and the most common are the Zeta level targets. These are the ones that have the meta gene dormant and haven't awakened their powers. It is estimated that 1/3 to half of the population of the planet has the meta gene. You can have it, Steve. Or your wife, and maybe your children and grandkids could awaken their meta abilities. Is one of the reasons that is dumb to discriminate against us. There's a large chance of you being us too. I didn't know about that. Is it because of this that the guys try to torture people to make goals? Steve asks. Yes, a huge part of the awakenings happens in moments of distress. So they try to replicate it using torture. We, the humans, as a species have the potential to have powers. This is one of the reasons that Bruce Banner doesn't die from radiation. And the Fantastic Four too. Idolan then looks at the camera. But please, don't go seeking powers. Ugh. There are so many factors like compatibility and other things. You have 50% chance of dying on the spot and can awaken bad powers too. And I will go explain more now. Idolan points to the pyramid again. In the second place from the bottom, there's the epsilon level metas. And their powers are detrimental. Idolan says detrimental. Yes, as an example, I know a guy whose power is make him have a bird physiology. But only the disadvantages. Seriously, he can't fly. His appearance changed greatly. His bones are weak. There's another girl who has a severe case of photophobia. That's it. That is her power. Suffer under sunlight. Damn, I never would know. Yeah, it's very common. Many of these die on the spot. At the moment they awaken their powers. Some die too when their powers are too strong. By the way, this can happen too. Wow. Yes, it's a lottery. I'm one of the lucky ones. Idolan sighs, continuing. Above the epsilon level there is the delta level. These ones awakened their powers and changed absolutely nothing that matters. Maybe their skin color changed, maybe their ears became pointy, or their hair grow on the entire body. These small things, you know, things that wouldn't give them an edge. Steve says yes, the problem is when their appearance changes are too obvious and make them become ostracized. No chance to integrate themselves in society ever again. Idolan sighs. By the way, these levels that I talked about, together with the one that I will explain now, the gamma level makes up more than 60% of the mutant population. Just to you to see how things really are. I can see now. Please continue. It's very enlightening. I've never, ever heard that stuff. The host talks. The gamma level is where we start gaining some advantages. But it is still little and sometimes with disadvantages and great changes in appearance. Why changes in appearance? So that our bodies can cope with the powers. Power level wise, a gamma level can do things on small scales. Now with the beta level things became interesting. Now, these have strong powers, but many times they have drawbacks, conditions, restrictions, or the users can't turn them on/off. A beta level is Captain America and above. Most of the betas have powers that can't exteriorize too much. How? Like super regeneration, super intelligence, or doing things in small ranges. Just a little above the gammas. Idolan points to the top of the pyramid. The word alpha appears in second place. Now this This is the elite. The strongest ones like you, huh? Steve asks. More or less. These ones have great powers, and no drawbacks. The changes in appearance would not cripple them, only give advantages. Lady Jade and Makia are on this level. Destructive power to raise cities to the ground. Cities? Steve asks shocked. So, are you on this level? Idolan looks at him, with a strange look. No, I'm an Omega level meta. He makes the word appear on the top of the pyramid. A Omega level is the absolute apex of the metas. Unlimited potential. Destructive power ranges from continental level to planetary. When the powers have a destructive nature, of course. Planetary. Steve asks, mouth agape. Yes, I can see your confusion. My fight with Thor affected only New York. But it is because we hold back. Even mind-controlled, Thor doesn't want to hurt innocent people, and I think he was in a weakened state too. On my side, I don't want to hurt him so bad. I see. There's many of these Omega level. The host asks, still shocked. Idolan raises his hand showing 2 fingers, something around 20 in the world. Well, if we count the mutates and others, it should be more on the same level. Do you know some of them? Heh. As I said, we don't make a convention of people with power or have a group chat. But I know some. We could make a group chat of metas. Would be cool. Speak comments, but Ororo shush him. The Hulk would be an Omega level in our terms. Magneto is one. I recently met an Omega level telepath. There's another that has Omega level cryokinesis and another with Omega level atmokinesis, and the list goes on. He is talking about us. I exclaim, I even need to visit them again. But I was so busy lately. Idolan idle comments while putting his chin on his hand. Would it be okay to visit this week? He asks, apparently to himself. Oh god, yes. Would be super cool. Jubilee exclaims, alright, I hope that I won't impose too much. He says on the TV. Okay, this is weird. Did he answer you? Paige asks with her eyes wide. It's a coincidence. Warren says, a little uncertain. I look around and see the shocked face of the people. Idolan, are you hearing us? Jean decides to take matters into her own hands and ask. Idolan is intensely looking at the camera. It appears that he is looking directly at us. Maybe. He says, creeping me out. Fuck. No way. Everyone received a jump scare. I can see Idolan chuckling on the TV. This guy can hear us. Damn, super senses. Fuck, did he hear everything we talked about him? Damn, I'm totes ashamed now. What was it? I hear Steve asking. Nothing. Hehe. Just messing with some acquaintances. Is so easy to predict their train of thoughts. Idolan says, chuckling. He is messing with us. But his timing is too good. Is just a coincidence. Idolan, Rogue has a big crush on you. I say, to verify Kitty. Rogue exclaims, embarrassed, but Idolan on the TV doesn't react and continues to talk with the host. Huff, so he is just predicting what we would talk. It's not hard to know that we would be watching. Jubilee says, but I'm still not sure. Idolan talked a little with Steve, answering some obvious questions until he goes to a topic that I don't know. Beyond power level, I also classify the metas on types based on the nature of their power. I think me and my group are the ones that used this type of classification. Idolan waves his hand again and another huge hollow board appears. For now, there are 10 types of powers that I would like to explain. Just saying from the beginning, metas can be a part of 2 or more groups. One is not excluding of another. The names are mostly self-explanatory. Using English, the most popular language on the planet, I divide the metas in. On the board, a name appears. Brute. This is new. First, the most common of superpowers. The upgrade on your physical attributes. The Brute is someone who excels in physical strength, durability, healing factor. These things. The Hulk, the Thing, and Makia are the best examples of this classification. But the Hulk and Spider-Man, thanks to their enhanced leaping abilities, can be considered movers too. Idolan makes the word appear on the board together with the explanation. Movers have the power to move, themselves and others with their powers. Teleports, flight, and even the simple capability of jumping very high thanks to their physical strength can classify someone as a mover. As a subclass, if you want to say it that way. Then there's the Shakers, people that can affect the world around them in many ways. Magneto is a Shaker, Invisible Woman too. Blasters have some sort of energy or matter projection can emit from simple fire to concussive blasts, lasers, or like the corrosive green fire that Lady Jade can create. And not only energy, water, acid, speak, bones, create and blast matter too. Next, we have the strikers, people that need to touch someone as a condition of activation of their powers. Like you, Rogue. You're a striker, I say to my friend, and Scott would be a blaster. Bobby adds Colossus a brute. I'm a blaster too, Jubilee comments, so I must be a mover. I think. Kurt is one, absolutely. I say we hear Idolan continuing. This classification is interesting. Changers can alter their bodies in many ways. Turn in another material, shapeshift, became an animal or a hybrid. Mr. Fantastic is a changer, and Mystique, the follower of Magneto too, by the way, so Colossus would be a changer too, together with being a brute. What comes first? Speak says probably changer, because he can only gain his strength and durability after becoming metal. Paige says I'm a changer too. She adds thinker is where I put everyone that has some sort of mental power together. Telepathy is the most common example. And what the Skrulls are most afraid of. And master. Idolan makes a pause for a time. I put the masters together with the thinkers, but eventually, I make a classification just for them. Masters have the power to control others. Yeah, very scary. Horrible power. I have some questions. Steve says let me finish and you ask. Idolan says, making Steve nod. Then we have breakers, tricky ones. They can break reality or natural law, making them don't be affected by these things or changing them at their whims. Someone with the power of luck, yes, the power of having good luck is a thing. People that can alter probability, change the fundamental forces of the universe and rewrite basic concepts. Intangibility is a breaker power. Just to inform you, that is not that they are always overpowered. Oh, so I'm a breaker. I say out loud. Well, if you think about it, phasing through matter is pretty much bullshit, even if it's simple. Jean adds at my side. Hehe. I'm rare. I laugh, making them roll their eyes. And then the last but not least, my classification. This makes everyone perk up. Idolan class can only be trumps. The most rare class. They have powers that affect other powers. Idolan reveals something everyone already guessed. They can enhance, suppress, detect, copy, create and steal powers. Oh, Rogue. You're a trump too. I exclaim, combining with Idolan. I mouth to her silently, making her avert her eyes. Are you gonna talk about your powers? Steve asks, hopefully. Nope. Business secret. You guys can only guess, Idolan says. Cheapstake. Everyone knows that he can copy, create, or steal powers. No one knows all of his powers. So why all this secrecy? TCH, how many powers you have? Steve asks. I can hear Jean say at my side, here it comes. She is already smiling. Yes, she says at the same time as Idolan on the TV, and laughs. Pfft. The audience and the host laughed too. Typical Idolan. Now I think that I shed some light on metas, right? He says, absolutely. I didn't know 5% of what you talked about before. Very informative. Steve says, now I can answer your question. What motivates me? He starts becoming a little more serious. You know, I died. Idolan says, what? I can see the shocked faces of the rest. When I awakened my power, I died. Bang. Disintegrated. Just like that? He snaps his fingers. But I didn't really die. My conscience lived even without a body. Maybe my body was destroyed because it can't handle that level of power at that time. Idolan says, I and everyone were enraptured by his tale. Is a strange sensation. I was so scared. In my young mind I thought that I died and become a ghost. Haha. It was hard to put thoughts together. I felt too much, and I heard too much. I heard and felt people suffering all around the globe. That is the first sign that I was really powerful. He sighs. It is hard to relate to other people suffering if you don't see it firsthand. Everyone knows that some people in Africa are suffering right now, but everyone just goes with their lives. But to me was different. I felt everything firsthand. I discovered that there's life beyond Earth, and that there are special people, uncovered many secrets and things that I don't understand at that time. And what has taken most of my attention is the suffering of mutants. The injustice, the evil. Maybe it's because of the nature of my powers. I'm a trump after all. More sensitive to powers. With time, I learned to reconstruct my body. But it's a road with no return. I experienced things. My innocence was lost. I needed to do something. I couldn't just look on the other way after knowing all those things. It was then that I swore to myself one day to help my fellows metas and the world. That was the day that Idolan was born. After he said that, the audience applauds and Steve looks impressed. Damn. I hear someone say you could say that I was cursed. With knowledge. Haha. Idolan laughs. So that was your call to do hero work? The host asks. Well, more or less. I lose my relatives to crime too. So this also inspired me. Idolan says with an even voice. I hear and felt everyone surprised to the revelation you? I'm sorry to hear that. The host. Don't be. It's okay. At that time I don't think that I would do hero work per se. I was just thinking about helping the metas, and changing the bad view that the world has of us. So I create my group. And then one day it happened. Idolan's eyes looks distant. I was too inexperienced. He says, and the silence continues. The host doesn't say anything else. But it appears that Idolan is made of sterner stuff and he continues. I haven't talked about my group yet, right? Your group? That's one of the many questions that I plan to ask you later. Are you part of the Avengers? Steve says, probably thankful to be able to dispel the awkward atmosphere. Nope. I have my own group, the SCP. He makes a symbol appear on a hologram in the air. Being part of the Avengers brings some annoying situations. So do things on my own. SCP stands for what exactly? Secure, contain, and protect. Secure dangerous objects so that they don't fall into the wrong hands, like what happens with the dodecahedron. Contain evil targets. And protects, everyone. Idolan explains that's my primary objectives. It's a good philosophy. Yeah, but what I really want is that finally everyone would be treated with the respect and dignity that was deserved by all. Idolan says, and size. We are a young planet. But we have so much potential. But potential alone can't protect us from the many dangers out there. Can we imagine that there are many and great dangers out there? On the universe. Maybe a cosmic giant will attack Earth now and kill us all. Idolan says and stops, as if waiting. His posture makes everyone hold their breaths and wait too. 1 second. 2 seconds. Well, it appears that we are still lucky. Ho. He laughs, allowing everyone to breathe again, but everyone was still a little nervous. We metas. We are humans too. We can help so much. If just we are allowed to do that. We could fix climate problems, restore the ice on the poles, replant forests, cure diseases. Heck, do you want me to put a space station in orbit saving billions of dollars that can be used for other things? I and many others can do that. Idolan exclaims heatedly before going serious, but I'm not doing it. He frowns. I will not help in the development of the planet while my people are exploited. We hide, because if we help, our reward would be being strapped to a cold table and be open apart. Not everyone is strong as me, or has my resources to protect themselves. If there's not a collective understanding, we can't progress. Idolan laughs sadly. This is the reality, people. The number of metas, mutants, is very little. 2 millions. Most of them have no great advantages over you. Do you think that we really want to hurt you? We could already do that. In the end, the strong ones simply live their lives, because helping is simply not worth it. And they're not evil to hurt you all. Just normal people with powers. I repeat. This is the reality. More and more metas will be born. Will be your sons and grandsons. They will awaken their power completely unprepared. They could unintentionally hurt you, themselves. We need to unite. How much good could we do together? He shakes his head one day. He pauses one day. A super strong Omega level will awaken his power. He will be treated like shit. And he will want revenge. There's a saying in Africa, the kid that is not loved by his tribe, will burn it down to feel it warmth. What if one day someone that fear nothing, that has nothing to lose decides to end it all? Idolan looks around seriously. There's a meta that I know, that his power is, he explodes himself. That's right, he can blow himself up. One time. And then he dies. The destructive scale of his power of it is the level of 100 kilograms of TNT. But what if some meta that was tortured in one of Theseus' lab awaken a power like that? But on an Omega level, planetary scale? Look, I understand that you fear us. It's normal. Everyone would fear someone with a gun. But we haven't chosen to. Born like that. And if someone wants to hurt you, they can hurt you anyway. We can make a better world. Everyone. I'm here trying to show you all the possibilities. To the normal people and to the metas too. I can understand that it is hard to trust each other. But can you guys try to trust me on this? And if you don't believe in my words, trust in my actions. Keep watching me. I will show everyone that the future that I envision is possible. He finishes and damn, he's cool. This guy is so cool. Jubilee say my thoughts what he said makes sense. If we work together, sighed the professor comments with a wistful sigh we could jump centuries in progress. Even more, if all the world class's genius works together. Dr. McCoy adds a pity that the world can't accept us. Scott says but with Idolan taking the front. Someone needed to do this first step. So is this what he is doing? If we just wait, nothing will change. Jean comments and I can almost see the jab to the professor in her words. Well, she is starting to disagree with the professor in the super passive instance. But she understands the dangers too. While I watch the audience applaud Idolan. Words, I wonder if Idolan can really do it. Thinking a little I can't help but be affected by his word from him and start to be filled with hope. Suddenly, this dream is not so far away anymore. Third-person POV. With these words, Idolan finally put everything out. He is surprised that no one tried to cut the transmission of the TV show. He is almost expecting it so that he could use this. Act later. The seed is planted. The more open-minded people will change their views, others will start thinking and questioning things. The ones that love conspiracies will have a field day. Social justice warriors too, people that fight for the betterment of the world, and the more young and impressionable people. Only the true intolerant ones will not change their minds. But there's always be haters. Now that Idolan said his piece of it, the TV show will progress in a more question-answer style like the deal that they made previously. Idolan. Steve starts. I have some things to ask about what you said before. Go on. Idolan says Abu that master classification. Sorry, but I'm really worried. Can you explain more? If there are a lot of them, how it works and how to defend yourself from it. If it is possible to defend yourself from it. The host asks with a frown on his eyebrows, a reasonable concern. It's terrifying to think that someone can overwhelm your free will and make you do things that you would never do. Idolan answers masters can by some means control something. Sometimes they use some sort of hypnosis, their voice, pheromones. Recently I captured a guy that could do that. Sick bastard. Idolan comments usually you can resist a master's power if your will is strong enough, but normal people with this amount of willpower is rare, especially if the master is strong. Unfortunately, our system is not ready to defend against these discrete powers, so you can only trust in people like me and other heroes that can identify and stop these evil acts. Idolan explains fortunately, people of the master classification are rare. And it is not because they have this type of power that they will use on you. Awakening power is a lottery, not everyone is evil. Do you remember that I talked early about that Omega level telepath? Idolan asks Steve. Yes. So, if she wants she can alter the memories, minds, and many other mental related things from populations of entire cities. Idolan says gravely. In the X-Men mansion, the people gave Jean a look, to see how she feels to be talked about like that. But she only frowns a little. Jean would never. Scott started to say but is interrupted by Idolan that says the same, but she would never do that. I can vouch for her. Idolan speaks, giving no room for an argument. I can vouch for her. In truth, her power brings problems to her too because she is really strong and she is still inexperienced. Believe me, hearing other people's thoughts is not pleasant. I repeat, these things are a lottery. People don't choose their power and there shouldn't be judged based on their powers and appearance. I confess, telepath is one of the powers that I least like of all. Is a power that easily corrupt, is discreet, and tempting to abuse of it. He sighs, but even this power can be used for good. A telepath can cure mental disorders, for example. Idolan looks at the camera. You there, that has a parent, a loved one that suffers from autism, schizophrenia, and others. There are metas out there that can help make your loved ones have all mental faculties, see the world how it's really look like, live his life fully and without help. Idolan sighs, but again, we can't because the world doesn't let us. Idolan raises his hands in defeat. With the X-Men, Jean keeps looking at the TV without speaking. She does not comment, lost in thoughts, but she is feeling like she is finally seeing some light. She was always unsure of what to do in the future, but now a path is starting to appear ahead. She is not entirely sure but is a start. I talked with Thor a little, and he commented about his hammer. How is a lesson from his father to him? A hammer that can destroy, but can also build. Powers are like that, they can be used for good. Idolan talks again. If society accepts metas as an important part of the whole, we could teach from childhood the importance in being responsible with power and to use for good. For now, we are learning for ourselves, alone. And many times, in bad situations, we are one mishap from a tragedy. Idolan preaches what you say makes complete sense. I couldn't agree more. Steve affirms no child is born inherently evil, is a fact. Yes. Someone with a master power can use his gift from her to. Let's see. Idolan pauses to think a little. Solve dangerous situation without violence. Someone is a hostage? Someone is having a neurotic/psychotic attack? They can solve it without no one getting hurt. Idolan gives the option, showing that there's always a good side to even the more evil powers. True, true. By the way, I have a master power too, but only works with animals. I can talk with them. Idolan says, smiling. Really? Like Dr. Dolittle? Haha. Is this what you used at the zoo at that time? Steve asks, surprised. Haha. I can't always order animals around. I can talk with them and they only instinctively know that I'm stronger and I'm on the top of the food chain. So, they listen to me. Idolan laughs and is not a glamorous a Dr. Dolittle. Most of the animals are jerks. Idolan confess he easily changes the topic of evil powers to something more light. Seriously? But how is it? I think everyone must be curious. The host asks with a smile. Well, dogs are nice, as expected. Penguins too, surprisingly. But squirrels, ugh. Idolan shudders a little. At an unknown place, a teenage woman with short brown hair frowns while watching Idolan talking on the TV. How so? He doesn't like squirrels. You guys are great. Doreen says to her furries companions in her room. I will meet him and change his view of squirrels. If he says determinately, unaware that she is the reason that Idolan keeps himself far away from squirrels. What is the worst animal? Personality-wise? Steve asks curiously. Dolphins. Idolan doesn't even hesitate. They're the worst. Seriously, stay away from dolphins. He points to the camera. Really? Yeah. I would prefer to stay in a tank with a white shark than with a dolphin. Idolan comments. Seagulls too. They're the worst of the birds. Haha. This I could agree. Steve say, but continuing, you talked early about changing in appearances of the metas. Why do some have these changes and not others? He asks. This goes a little deep too. Do you remember when I said that I disagree with the term homo superior? Yes. So, we have powers, we have the potential to have powers, but in many cases, our bodies fail to withstand these powers. So, in some cases, they adapt and change. Idolan explains. Lady Jade is an example. Her skin tone is a result of her power helping her to cope with herself. Obviously, in other cases, the power itself is a change in appearance, like with the thing from the Fantastic Four. I see. And there's also the case where the changes are arbitrary and have nothing to do with the power. Can this happen? Steve asks. Yes, one of my people can detect meta. And his skin is gray and he has some other extra non-related things on his body. In the X mansion like you, Kurt. Sorry, but your appearance has nothing to do with your power. Speak says to his blue friend of his. In these cases, this change of appearance should be hereditary. Idolan says hereditary. Yes, one of the parents must have these changes, so even if you don't inherit the power, maybe you will inherit some changes in appearance. Do you think this happened to you, Kurt? One of your parents must have this cool demon look. Warren says. Warren. Ororo frowns. What? I said that's cool. It's okay, Ms. Ororo. Warren doesn't s in a bad way. Kurt say in his German accent. I'm curious too. I don't know who my parents are. The teleporter comments with a distant look. This is a touchy subject, because till now most of the people in the mansion believe that Kurt has been abandoned because of his appearance, but if what Idolan said is true, one of his parents for him must look like him. So for what reason he was abandoned? And as if knowing what they're thinking, Idolan says on the TV, obviously, to the people that the metagene is still dormant, the child could inherit the potential appearance that they should have in the case of awakening. Is not a certain rule that appearance is always inherited from direct relatives. Do your parents have powers or some change in appearance? Steve asks, and Idolan gives a look as he has touched on a difficult subject. But Idolan still answers all the same. Nope. Completely normal. No powers. Nothing. I see. So, because of your high level, the Omega-1, you don't have a change in appearance. This is not completely true. Idolan starts and pauses for a moment like he is deciding what to do. You know what? Is better to show you, he says and raises from his chair. Grabbing the front of his mantle with his right hand, he takes it off in one move and whistle. The audience, mainly the female part, reacts madly to his body. He pauses. Wow, Paige says praisingly, a 8-pack, damn, I'm glad that I'm recording it. Kitty says is like 20 Da Vinci's sculpted his body, giving all of their heart and souls. Jean adds, and you, Jean. Ororo raises an eyebrow at her in a playful manner. Jean blushes a little and avoids eye contact. Tisk, tisk. Your girls are so shallow, only caring about appearance. Speak, says mocking. Warren nods in affirmation, looks who is talking to. Are you really biting your lip, sis? Johnny asks while looking at Susan strangely. What? And no, I'm only thinking. And she stutters. Johnny narrows his eyes looking at his sister. I really can't figure out your taste on men. He says. Susan can only facepalm when Ben laughs. So, I'm lucky or unlucky to be blind now. Alicia, Ben's girlfriend, makes a joke. Well, the lucky one is me. Haha. Ben laughs again while gently kissing the side of her head. Well, nice. Bobby Moore says while looking at the screen on the helicarrier. Indeed. Natasha adds ahem. Maria Hill says too. Nick Fury looks around. Seriously? Focus, people. He says, making the women avoid eye contact. I swear to God that I will make you all work on investigating people that don't pay their taxes. Suddenly I'm not so comfortable in doing it anymore. Idolan looks awkwardly around while holding his mantle in front of his body, jokingly like a shy maiden. Please, by all means, continue. Steve laughs. Our views are increasing a lot now. Mercenary. Idolan whispers before simply throwing the mantle on his chair and continuing. This could be a little scary, gross, or weird to some. So, be warned. He says. He goes in a standing position, separates the feet so that they are horizontal with the shoulders, and raises the forearms a little to waist level. The truth is, I can change my body too. Many of my powers require body changes. But I have a really good control on it. Let me show you all. He finishes and then acts. Changes happen in his body immediately. Black angel-like wings sprout from his back, then demon-like wings, a huge scorpion tail, a turbine, some pillars where electricity runs. While one new thing is appearing, a previous change is disappearing already. Do not change. Last more than a second. His skin change color many times. Scales, crystals, rocks, fire, ice, wood, and many other things take turns covering his body. His arms and legs change too much. Claws, scythes, blades, spikes, drills appear on his body. His right arm opens up like he is a cyborg and then closes and becomes a black slime-like substance. He grows more arms too and shows some changes. The whole process is weirdly fascinating and breathtaking. To end all, his body is split into many parts that start floating in the air and then they group together in his previously sitting position. Something like this. I can change my body too. But a normal body is more convenient if I'm not using some specific power. He says calmly with a leg crossed over the other. He doesn't put his mantle back. Wow, is the only things the host can say. With so many powers, it is obvious that some can change my body. But it's a good thing, you know? I can feel how it is to have these changes and empathize with my fellow's goal even more. Idolan says this stunt of Idolan is not useless. First of all, he showed no important power. From all 68 powers that he showed, most of them are obvious at first glance what they do and the rest is weak. Anyone can look at an arm covered in metal and deduce that his arm has become more resistant. This can also bring him closer to the metas with changes in appearance, which are the majority. In the end, Idolan can be considered a very successful person, a meta in the case, so is now weird to some metahumans resent him for being so powerful and having no drawbacks. Many metas must thinks how that guy can understand us. And works on the other way too. Idolan's success will help people accept the goals with different bodies. Some people already like him, so the fact that he is not absolutely normal helps too. It's all a publicity stunt. So you can control it. The host asks yes, but I'm an exception of the rule. I personally have incredibly good control of my body and powers, but that's me. Idolan. He explains you can't expect another meta with newly awakened powers to know how to use them expertly. If someone throws you in the cockpit of a plane, can you fly instantly? If you grow 2 more arms? Suddenly having the strength of 100 men? It is not easy as people think. Hello there again. I hoped you guys at least liked this chapter a little. So, I will utilize this space to talk about something important. All side chapters of this week will have some important author notes. Read, please. Well, if you don't want, whatever to. This one we will talk about one of the pillars of this story. Powers, the many abilities of fictional characters. When I started this story I had put little thought into it. My thinking at that time is basically this the essence gives powers from all fiction, so is better to use a big, high-level world with many types of power as a setting. DxD? Nope. Marvel? Yep, there's magic, martial arts, technology. So no power will get out of place there. Don't you guys ever find it weird on fanfic where the setting uses, I don't know, cultivation and the MC takes out a modern weapon? I always cringed a little. So thinking about this I choose Marvel. Nothing will be out of place here. But then there's a thing that is annoying me for some time. How to balance all these powers. I have my understanding, but many can disagree with me and still be right. And there's things that literally has no answer. I'm talking about absolute things in some universes that maybe were not that absolute. In another, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object? Can a lightsaber cut adamantium? And what about absolute powers in certain low-level universes like? Can Pucci reset the Marvel Universe? Dio stops the time here? Everyone would be affected? What about the range? Will the range, like a bubble of time stop? And I'm not even want to talk about Logias in One Piece. For now, my understanding is like that. If power comes from a low-level universe ORIS used by a low-level person won't work against someone much stronger. Do you guys wouldn't find it weird if Yoshikage Kira kills Thor with Killer Queen? Or Superman? During the fight of Idolan vs Thor many readers commented why not use overhaul or rewind in Thor? Would that really work? Did any of you guys read the Invincible comics? Viltrumites have some sort of intrinsic field or bioaura or whatever. Has been a long time since I read it. That makes them immune to molecular manipulation weaker than them. So they can't be affected by these op powers if the user is too weaker. That is my take. If a guy is much stronger, will not work. I mean, qualitatively. I can't see Thor being affected by Kilgrave pheromones. Or luck. Domino is a character with great luck, but how do you quantify luck? If Idolan wants to kill her, her power will be enough to protect her? Sincerely I still think no. Her luck must be good to her to gain in casino, make bullets miss. But I don't think if Idolan copies her power, his Gatcha luck will increase or make Silver Surfer fall from his board in a fight against him. Let's have a little FO common sense. But the MC can bring the full potential of these powers thanks to the Gatcha. I already said that his body improved many quirks, so in the future even powers from low-level universes will be useful. In the future. For now he has a mortal body, mortal soul, mortal spirit. Everything about him is mortal. One day he will evolve qualitatively. And his abilities will improve too. I always say that he is a pseudo-cosmic hero. That's what I want to talk today in the future. If you guys think shouldn't he use that power in this situation? Isn't the author dumbing him? Nerf him. Think before if the power is really that strong, if is really necessary, or if is the best option a little. BTW, power boost cards were predicting this situation.